Hello, my name is Gbolahan Obisesan. I'm Artistic Director and Joint CEO of Brixton House. So I first got into theatre through performing. I joined the National Youth Theatre and wrote a couple of plays for them after some time and decided that actually I wanted to pursue a much more intentional route as a director in the industry. And so I worked in fringe venues for a long time and started looking for opportunities to direct my own productions, and that usually came from competitions. And yeah, kind of made the decision to become a freelance and dedicated myself to that for a number of years before this opportunity came along to apply to be the artistic director of Brixton House. And I was very fortunate enough to be appointed as the new artistic director of Brixton House, formerly Oval House. And it's been a very life-affirming journey and place and position to be in currently. I think for us, this has been an evolution of Oval House, being able to expand the operation, being able to have much more space to play with, to invite artists and people to come and interact and kind of experience culture and theatre in, has been part of the legacy of what Oval House set out to be. It was a space that was set out to center stories and people from marginalized, neglected, and often ignored communities, and that is something that we want to continue, but on a much more intentional, obvious, and kind of celebrated, basis. In that, the building is here. Brixton has not had a theatre in it for a long time, and it just felt like the natural place for Oval House to really kind of bed down and cement its name as an organisation and a space for people's stories and experiences to be celebrated. The response has been very, very positive, which has been really heartening and really kind of encouraging and invigorating for a lot of our staff. A lot of our staff are new. A lot of people, this is their first theatre venue to be working in as well. So it just felt like there's been a real opportunity for us to kind of start afresh, but with the community's embrace and enthusiasm kind of spurring us on, because it has been incredibly hectic, and it's been a bit of a baptism of fire, to say the least. Just the sheer scale of programming that we've had, but also the number of people that have been coming through the doors, and that's something that is exactly what we want, especially since post-pandemic, and that anxiety that we see is still very prevalent in some theatre venues, where people are not necessarily returning to see shows as they did pre-pandemic. But it's just felt like for us that hasn't been something that's held us back. If anything, it's just more about people taking notice of the building and knowing that we've arrived, we've opened, and there are stories that they can engage in and with, and artists and stories to kind of support as well. I mean, for us, we see the venue as an eclectic arts venue, a space for a multitude of stories and different art forms. And so, we've tried to really explore that broad church of, forms of stories already, but, there is opportunity for us to kind of look at circus, acrobatics, film, installations, immersive theatre work, stories for families, and as well as also, really sort of ambitious storytelling in both of the two theatre spaces, both black box spaces, but completely reconfigurable. And one is 120 depending on configuration, and the larger one is 220 again depending on configuration. But they're both beautiful spaces with state-of-the-art technology that just means that there's a real quality of technical support that makes the experience even much more immersive, and certainly a much more holistic kind of experience for the artists and audiences alike. I think Brixton House's theatre has to continue to respond as a space for groundbreaking theatre. It's theatre that really foregrounds neglected stories, marginalised stories, but stories that are told with the level of ambition, the courage, and the quality that the artists have envisaged for how their story should be told or received. And and I think we're not trying to put a cap or a boundary or a specific remit on that, because I think stories come from everywhere. We serve a much broader community of the global majority here in Brixton, and I think all of those stories, all of those different cultures and international people need to be celebrated and see themselves on our stages as part of this evolution of what OFF House has already achieved, but what we seek to achieve for many years to come. For me, Brixton House being part of the OffWestEnd community, I think it's about just kind of opening up where stories come from and how those stories are celebrated and acknowledged. I think it's about us, contributing to that for many years, being able to shine an even brighter spotlight on some of the artists and some of the stories that we're putting on our stages, and the kind of brilliant achievement that has led them to be acknowledged for an Offie, or certainly for much wider audiences to be able to see the work. I think building on the network with beyond London, I think also is something that we're very enthusiastic about, because it just means that more stories can get out of London, get seen by much wider communities of people, and go further afield than perhaps the artist had originally intended. So I think that's very exciting, and I think Brixton House can play an integral part in how those stories and artists' work are seen and get around the country. Yeah, we've got some really exciting shows coming up. We've got Fathers by Babel Company, who are a company working out of France, so they'll be visiting us in July, and then we've got our season announcement, which will be coming out on the 18th of July, so look out for that. But as part of that, we've got our Christmas show, Alice in Wonderland, which is our first Christmas commission here at Brixton House, and I'm very excited by Poltergeist Theatre Company, who are going to be making that work.